What's going on, guys? This is Derek at the Walking Dead official podcast. After a long wait, I am here with Ricardo from In My Factual Opinions channel. I'm
What's
so
up,
happy to
man?
finally get this going. So, Ricardo, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing well, man. I'm happy to be here, and I've been looking forward to being on your podcast for some time now. So I'm excited, man.
I am too, man. And for those of you that don't know, Ricardo is self-proclaimed the world's biggest Walking Dead hater. So we have a lot to talk about.
That's right.
Yeah. So while we're here, we're obviously going to talk about the show and, kind of where it's at now. And I know you've watched some. So when did you hop off The Walking Dead? When did you start to find more dislike for it, if you remember?
Man. So with The Walking Dead, a lot of people may know or may not know because I did a video on this a while ago. But when I was in high school, I was the biggest fan of this show. Like, I remember when the first season came out, like, dude, I was putting so many people on at school, like, you guys need to watch The Walking Dead. Like, you need to watch it. It's peak, yada, yada. Like, it was amazing for like the first few seasons, but I think I've said before, like somewhere along the lines, I started watching like better to me, at least. I don't know what you think, but I started watching other shows and I started comparing kind of the faults in like The Walking Dead, and I just lost interest in it little by little and started watching other shows. Like for me, my big show was like Breaking Bad. Once I watched that, man, I almost completely dropped like The Walking Dead completely. It just
So,
I don't know, like around maybe season 3 or 4 is when I started losing interest because I felt like the plots were being recycled every season. The way they would kill characters off was lazy and was there to induce what's the word uh not hype, but what's the word, like clickbait, to get people to watch.
yeah, shock factor, if you
Shock
will.
factor, yeah. And I think for me, like, that stuff really turned me off, and then the fake out deaths is what really started grossing me out to the show, because when I would compare it to, like I said, Breaking Bad, all the deaths in that show hit really hard and they felt like we had been building to them and they had a purpose. Like nothing felt like it was there for shock value, versus when I would watch The Walking Dead, it'd be like, it just felt cheap to me. Like all the deaths felt cheap, in my opinion.
Well, and it's very interesting to me to like hear that perspective, because a lot of people that stopped watching the show stopped watching after where you did. And you said around season 3 or 4 is when you started to notice these things. And those are the seasons that a lot of people say are the best. Not me personally, but a lot of people say those are the best seasons of the show. So it is a little bit surprising to hear somebody get through the first couple seasons and love it, and then get into 3 and 4 and not like it as much, not enjoy it as much. That is something I honestly haven't heard very much of.
It took me years to get through season 5 or 6 because my friend was, me and my best friend, we were huge fans. And I'm the one who stopped watching it first. And he actually agreed with me at the time, where he felt just like me, but he said, I put in this much time. So I just want to see how it ends. Little did he know that the show's still going, but he would always kind of keep me up to date on what was happening. And I would ask him, because like I didn't hate the show. I still liked it. Like, and then I would ask him, so what's happening now? He's like, same shit. And I think it was like, what season was it when they're like in that hospital with the bitch cop?
Oh, that's season 5. That's the first half of season 5.
Yeah. So dude, it took me like a long time to watch that season because I started watching it. I just stopped. I said, I'm not even going to bother. I tried again. Eventually I finished it, but it took me a long time, dude. And even my friend who was adamant, like, I want to see how it ends. Eventually he gave up and he stopped watching it completely. He couldn't take it anymore. Like, he just felt very similar to me.
Honestly, like, I haven't really seen a perspective like that before. So I do like, especially for you and your friend both, because most of the people that I talk to, if they stopped watching the show, it was when Rick left, when Glenn died, or when Carl died. It's usually one of those three, right? It's one of those
Right.
three that people left and gave up on the show, was around one of those points, right? So that's season 7, 8, and 9, around that time. And that seems to be like the consensus with a lot of people. And I do hear from some people that they think the storylines are repetitive. But one thing I do want to remind you of course, is, and a lot of people forget about this, but they're following a source material to a certain degree. And yes, they do break away from it in like, you know, the fact that Daryl isn't even in the comic books, you know what I mean?
No,
But they
he's like the
have to
biggest
be
character.
prepared. They have to be prepared for actors like to leave the show or actresses to leave the show. So when
It's
Andrew
not
Lincoln,
easy. It's
no,
not
it's not
easy
easy at all.
to write around that. Like I get it, but at the end of the day, like shit happens, you know?
Yeah, and it's like when Andrew Lincoln left, back in it was like early season 9, he had been talking about it for a while. I think about that moment, and if they hadn't introduced Norman Reedus's character as Daryl, there would have been nobody ready to pick up that. And I don't think the show could have gone on because I don't think anybody could have taken on Rick's storylines after he left the show. Now, where we're at now with the show, and I know you haven't seen it, but we're kind of at a point where Rick and Michonne are coming back in their own spinoff show. Now we have 4 episodes of the main series to set that up, and the fans are getting worried they're not going to do a good job on it. And that's where a lot of people are starting to freak out. Me personally, I have the utmost faith in them to give us something and deliver on it. There's just a lot of loose ends right now that need to be tied together. My only critique with the show as a whole, and almost the universe as a whole, is there's too many open ends, but that can end. You know, that can end soon if they do it correctly. Back in season 3 or 4, when you were watching it, they didn't do a lot of that stuff correctly, and they had to pick up the pieces later on when Angela Kang took over the show. And that's why I actually really didn't like season 1 of The Walking Dead. I actually do not have it as high as a lot of other fans do.
It's aged poorly.
I agree. I think they now you have 10 seasons of the show that are completely different than that one season of the show, where the zombies even act different, right? And now you have to start explaining that to people. Like that was
I
a
know the
big
whole story behind it. Like
it's a big writing flaw. It's a big writing flaw. You spend 2 episodes introducing that Vatos group, the
which was corny and racist, bro.
no, extremely, and then extreme.
And look, man, like when I was in high school, I was a Twitter troll saying the wildest shit on Twitter, you know, just dumb shit, right? But even watching that when I was like, a freshman or sophomore in high school, when I was like 15 or 16, even I was like, bro, this is racist and corny, man. Like literally the most ghetto, stereotypical Mexicans with the lowrider. I'm just like, bro, they're seriously driving a lowrider in a zombie apocalypse. Like, come on, man. Like, but yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's corny, bro.
They never built on it. That's what always makes me so mad. Is like they went through all that for nothing. We never see what happens to him. We never see him again. It was literally all for nothing. And that's why the first season of the show, some people just love it, especially the pilot episode. And is it good in terms of like a cinematography standpoint? Absolutely, especially for its time. But now I can't. I really feel like it's so disconnected from the rest of the universe. And to me, that's the biggest flaw for the show, in my opinion. So when I see people comparing the first seasons, it's always hard for me to even want to say The Walking Dead's better than Breaking Bad's first season or Better Call Saul's first season.
The first episode does hold up, though.
It does.
That's one of the best pilots of all time, dude. I don't know where I would place it, but like top 10 for sure, right? Like you can't deny that. Top 5, I'd have to really sit down and think, but no, the pilot holds up, man. It's a wonderful pilot that really sucks you into the world, and it gets you on Rick's side immediately. Like you bond with Rick immediately, and you get to see his compassion. And I still remember that scene of that torn up little girl where Rick's like, "I'm sorry this happened to you," or something like that, right? Yeah, like that was all good stuff, man. And then everything with Morgan was great. It was a fantastic first episode, man. But like the first season, like it doesn't hold up, dude. Not it hasn't stood the test of time like other first seasons of older shows, you know?
Right. And that is a big issue, because you're trying to get people into the show even after the show ends. And it makes it hard when you don't have a dedicated fan base that's extremely excited about the first season of the show, you know? And a lot of people are, but for me, I'm just not. And it's not the only time that the Walking Dead show writers at AMC have done this, right? Because Fear the Walking Dead season 1 is another short season. I don't know if you've ever watched it or not, but it's
my friend, he's actually my best man at my wedding. He actually was really enjoying Fear. He said it's like when he was watching like the first season or 2, he's like, bro, it's actually pretty good. He's like, it's better than the regular Walking Dead. And I asked him not too long ago, so how did that show turn out? He's like, oh, it's fucking trash now. That's what he said.
That I'll agree. I will agree. I will gladly agree with that. Because the first 3 seasons are great. It's one of those shows where they build up for 3 seasons. They have a huge badass finale to season 3, right? Like some of the best Walking Dead content ever, in my opinion. The season 3 finale of Fear the Walking Dead is amazing.
Okay.
But then they decide to keep it going when they could have ended the whole series right there and just moved on. Instead of that, they decide to keep it going. They go into season 4. They bring in other characters. They do a time jump, and it just they screwed it up after that. But my point is, the first season of that show is very similar to the first season of the Walking Dead main series in the fact that it's half a season, 7 episodes, I think, is what the first season of Fear is. We see the introduction of the zombie apocalypse, but instead of having a Rick Grimes there, we have a drug addict son, his sister who's like very young and very promiscuous, then in parents that want to split up and have a divorce, and it's like this dysfunctional family in an apocalypse, and it makes it to where you almost don't have that person to root for, and it kind of makes things harder to watch because of that. And we see the same thing in World Beyond. So it kind of seems like these show writers, they have to.
What's World Beyond? Is that another show?
Oh, there's way more. There's Tales of the Walking Dead.
Sorry, before I want you to get back to your point, but how many Walking Dead shows are there now? There's the original, Fear, and what else?
Okay, there's Walking Dead World Beyond, which has 2 seasons. It's over now.
What was that about? Was their main character?
A whole new group of survivors, young kids in the CRM base, which is where Rick was taken to. So they're seeing the CRM through the perspective of these children.
Okay.
And then we have Tales of the Walking Dead. I don't know if you've heard of that or not.
Like the video games?
No, it's not the video games. It's in its own TV show. It's a 6-episode TV show. It's an anthology series. So each episode tells its own story.
That sounds interesting.
That one is something I think you would really like. Honestly, I think you would like it. Some of the episodes really suck, but there's a few that really, really deliver. Terry Crews comes on. Olivia Munn is in one. Jesse Usher from The Boys is on.
I know Jesse Usher. Yeah,
there's a lot of really good talent. Alpha comes back from the Walking Dead main series. There's a lot of good actors. Samantha Morton. I don't know if you know who she is or not, but
no.
So that's in its first season. It just finished up around September. So those are obviously the big ones that we have. Then we, of course, have the Maggie and Negan spinoff coming out. We have Daryl's spinoff coming out, and then we have the Rick and Michonne spinoff coming out. So they're
good for them. Good for them. Get your bag. Get your bag.
Get the money, man.
Get the money. Like I wouldn't like. I haven't seen them, but I'm just saying I wouldn't mind being in a shit show or movie if, bro. What's his name? The guy who plays Daryl. Norman Reedus. He's getting like over $1 million per episode, isn't he? At this point, because he took over Rick's salary.
Yeah.
Or Andrew Lincoln's. Yeah. So get your fucking bag, man.
Dude, I can't blame him, man. He's going all the way to Europe to film.
So and a free vacation. Paid company vacation, bro.
They're paying him more to go there. Like it's smart thinking, and I think the shows will do well. Only if the main series ends in the right way, though. If the main series does not end in the right way, I don't see how they can promote these other spinoff shows and still get people to want to come on and watch it. That's what scares me.
I disagree. The Walking Dead, although it's not what it was 5 to 6 years ago, is still a ratings juggernaut, dude. Look at Game of Thrones, the most shit ending ever, and look at how House of Dragon is performing, dude. I don't think it matters what happens with The Walking Dead. It's going to continue to pull in numbers and rake in revenue, man. In my opinion,
I think so. I think it will.
It's too big to fail.
It'll always get enough viewers to maintain its show, right? But what they're trying to do. They want to get back to being the number 1 scripted television show on cable, right?
Right.
The only way that you can get back up there is to really build up, the fan base and make them excited for what's to come.
That's fair.
And I just can't help but feel like if this main series ends and they don't tie these loose ends together, because think about it, when Rick got taken away, it was a big question mark. That's already been almost 4 years. So this is where we're expecting to figure out what's going on. And if they decide to push it off for a spinoff show in a couple of years, I don't see how many people are going to want to wait 6 years and gladly watch every episode leading up to it. That's what I'm worried about.
Fair. No, that's fair. That's fair. But okay, but is The Walking Dead not still one of the biggest draws in television?
So they stopped like scaling it as much. Season 10 was the number one scripted television show throughout its first 16 episodes. It took a break and then came back with 6 more episodes, and those hit number 3.
Okay.
But now with season 11, I haven't seen any current ratings for it that are accurate, because now we have the advantage of going on AMC Plus and watching the episodes 1 week early.
Right. Now
So
it's
that's
skewed.
taking a lot, but AMC Plus has over, I think it's like 20 million users that they're at, pretty close.
Wow.
Like they have a lot more users than people think. And I'm not just saying that because I'm partnered, but because they
Congrats.
really do kill it. And they, the way that they use these shows, use their streaming service to propel these new shows, they do a really good job of it, because they bring people into the platform to watch the show. So it's hard to judge the ratings now, but I definitely think that they're always going to have a good amount of viewers, just like, Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul is.
Okay. That's a lot of shows. So going back to what you were asking me about, when did I stop liking it? Another thing that really got me off the train was they killed off a lot of their morally ambiguous characters. For example, like I think Shane, like it's not that I was upset that they killed like my favorite characters. I don't mind, as long as it's, it does the story justice. It's not a big deal. But to me, for example, when they killed Shane, I think he was at the time one of the only morally ambiguous characters where you never really knew which way he was going to go. Was he going to protect Lori and Carl? Was he going to serve himself? Did he want to usurp Rick? You just didn't know what he was going to do. Everybody was kind of black or white. There was Rick, the good guys, and whoever would attack them, the bad guys, right? I think Rick's character hadn't quite moved into that gray area just yet. Maybe he is now, which I'm sure he is, but he was kind of always doing the right thing for the most part. And for me, Shane was one of those guys where you threw him in the mix and you just didn't know what was going to happen. And along with him, Merle was another character where you just never quite knew which way he was going to go. And he made the show a lot more interesting. And after Merle died, I was like, man, that was the last character that I found interesting. And that kind of took away a lot of the fun for me from that show.
Something like I really appreciate that perspective, because that is like something I honestly never thought of. And it's funny because around the time Merle gets killed off in the show, that back half of season 3, that's some of my least favorite content aside from season 1. And I never really knew why.
Was a great character, man.
I know Merle was amazing, and Shane was too. John Bernthal is top tier, top 5 actor on The Walking Dead for sure. But yeah, once that, I mean, that's crazy because I didn't really think about that. I know what you're explaining is Negan now, right? And he has been since probably season 9. What you're explaining is how Negan is now.
Morally gray, where you never quite know what he's going to do.
You don't know if he's going to be look out for himself, if he's going to, hurt somebody in the community, if he's going to try to help out these people. That's exactly how he is now, because ever since Rick, put him in prison and he tried to get his, get himself together, it's all different now. But
yeah, we were always guessing, like with Shane, like you, and especially Shane did the on the verge of losing his mind thing so well, where you genuinely, like when he killed Herschel's like son or cousin, whoever that was, you were like, whoa. And then after that, you didn't know what he was going to do. It was constantly like, is he about to snap and kill everyone? Or is he genuinely trying to lead the group into a better place? Is he trying to usurp Rick? Is his ego like growing? Like, he was so interesting and complex. And Merle was different, right? Merle was like, is he out for himself? Is his love for Daryl stronger than his love for himself and his need to preserve himself? Like, up until his very last moments, didn't he betray Daryl and the group before, when he went to serve the governor, but then at the last second chose to save Daryl?
Correct. Yep. Correct.
Yeah, characters like that is what keeps the show interesting. And I think like some of my favorite shows, like Barry, Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, they have these morally gray characters where you never quite know which way they're going to go, and it's always surprising to see the route they choose.
No, I really, what you're saying really makes sense, man. Like, it really does. And I think like that's a really clean perspective on why The Walking Dead seems slower to you or less enjoyable to watch to you than some of these other shows that you love. And I definitely understand that. I will tell you, I think that they realized that. I think The Walking Dead realized that and tried to fix it in future seasons. But that's the thing with television, man. I mean, all it takes is one bad season, sometimes one bad episode to push people away, and you can't always get them back. And that's where people critique the show, because that season was Shane, season 2 was Shane, and the battle that he's going within himself and stuff. It's so
great.
like
it's great television,
amazing. And that's why I honestly think that's why season 5 of The Walking Dead, when we see Rick Grimes start to be that way, where he's, doesn't take chances, he will murder everybody he has to keep people alive. People love that shit. You see edits all the time of Red Machete Rick.
Yeah. Shout out to Clash PR, Rick. aka Cookie.
yeah, man, I love that guy. But yeah, dude, those people love that about Rick. They love that. That's what they want to see, because he's unpredictable. You don't know what the hell he's going to do. You don't know if he's going to go.
At the time, correct me if I'm wrong, but basically the show was very black and white, right? You had Rick and his group, always the goody two shoes, always going to do the right thing. And then you had whoever was the villain of the season, right? Basically.
Yeah, I agree. I will agree with you. Where they kind of saved it, in my opinion, and they could have saved it if they would have picked a better character, they put Andrea and Michonne in the same community as the governor. So they were kind of integrated with the governor, but also wanted to look out for their group. So you did have that.
That's another reason. Andrea was one of the most unbearable characters in all of television, man. She was one of the worst written.
Didn't deliver because of that. That's what I'm saying. Like what you're saying you wanted, they tried to give it, but because it was Andrea, a character that they didn't develop, that people didn't like, who gives a shit? No one's gonna want, like, I don't hate Andrea as much as most people do, but I understand why people weren't excited by what they decided to do with her.
Yeah, I don't remember why I disliked her. It's been so long, but I just remember that I intensely disliked her character at the time. That's all I remember. But yeah, like that's one of the things, like I said, is just the when you interject, I guess it would be chaos, right? That's kind of what Merle and Shane were into a show. It just makes it a lot more interesting. And everybody at the time, like I'm, obviously things have changed now, but everybody at the time was just like goody two shoes, man, versus the big bad guy of the season. And that stuff, it gets predictable because you know what the characters are going to do, and it gets boring to me.
I get that. I do, and I really think, like, I get what you're saying. And let me ask you, because I actually have a question for you, and this is like a lot of the people that are starting to get frustrated with The Walking Dead or have stopped watching The Walking Dead. I want your opinion on what you think of the show doing this, but you see the comic book source material, right? And I don't know if you know everything that happens in it.
A little bit.
Let me give you a couple examples, okay, of how the show broke away. All right. Andrea survives until almost the very end of the comics, right? Carl is the future. He makes it all the way to the end.
He's gone. Right?
Rick Grimes dies at the end of the comics, very end. So how do you feel about The Walking Dead, like, not doing those big storylines in the comic books and kind of going their own route by killing off Carl for the shock factor, killing off Andrea, and not finishing the show with Rick Grimes there? Are you understanding what I'm asking, kind of?
Yeah.
I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, because for me, it doesn't bother me, but for some people it really does. So I'm curious what you think.
I think when you're adapting a comic book, I don't want to insult children, but you have a lot of kids who are attached to it, right? And you know how kids are. They're going to complain no matter what you do. Whether you follow the source material or you don't, you're gonna get shit for it. And I think that's why it's called an adaptation, man. You have to do your best to adapt it. You don't always have to follow source material. But if you're going to change the source material into something that's proven already to be fantastic, from what I've heard, you have to do it just as good or better, or give a good reason as to why. In your opinion, is there a good reason why they killed Carl?
No.
Well, the actor wanted to leave, right? So they had to kind of.
No, so it's messed up, man. It's messed up what they did. But like, Carl turned 18. His actor turned 18 years old. He was going to get an adult contract because of that. They didn't want to pay him.
Motherfuckers.
They actually filmed season 8, the episode, without him dying, went back and added him getting bitten and him dying in that sewer. They like, and I know it sounds horrible, and this is my favorite show. I built a life on this show, but that decision, I think through the whole community, was
That's
the worst
pathetic,
one.
bro.
It was the worst one.
Okay, so there you go. Rick leaving, yes, there was a reason, but in terms of writing, did they execute it properly? Him leaving for a while.
I think they did. Yeah,
Okay.
but it's
Him not
tough.
finishing the show. You don't know yet how they're gonna execute it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So right now it feels like they've done a good job. The CRM, they did a good job introducing it and kind of putting that element in there. Even that first episode, the pilot, when Rick sees the helicopter, that's like foreshadowing of him leaving the show too, because he's taken away in a helicopter. So I think they delivered on that. The episode's immaculate, but
I think, like I said, people are going to complain no matter what. And if you look like something at Game of House of the Dragon, have you been watching?
I have not.
Well, I don't know the exact source material, but from what I've seen, they're doing a really great job. But you still get people in the comments complaining that they changed this or that or yada yada. And it's like, dude, like, you can't just follow something in a linear fashion, because some things just don't translate well to the screen. It's the nature of comics, books, and movies and television. And I think if there's a good reason to make a significant change, like killing Carl, maybe not in real life, but if you can make it significant within the show, in the universe, then it's fine. But obviously they didn't. With Rick leaving in the show, you said they did it well. So now we have to see his excuse for him not finishing the show out, right? So hopefully it's done well, but you never know, man. Like I think that from what you're telling me, that's a very poor decision, man.
It's tough, and it's like it is tough to vouch for it all. However, it is about, you can't control those things, right? I mean, you could control the stuff with Carl. You can't control Andrew Lincoln wanting to be home with his family. You can't accelerate a story 3 seasons and end it now. You know, especially when it's still number 1 at that time. You cannot. So I think they did a good job bouncing back from it. I really do. I think they did a good job. Now, bring it full circle, end it right, and I think that stuff will be explained. But I just hear those complaints a lot. I hear them a lot. But who wants to watch a show? If you've read the comic books front to back, why would you want to watch a show with the exact same things happening in them?
I agree.
Like when Glenn died, right? That happened in the comics. They threw people off by killing Abraham first and then killing Glenn. So people that knew Glenn was going to die were still shocked by Glenn getting killed. Was
the Abraham
really well
thing
done.
Justified to you, or more shock value?
Are you talking which part? I'm sorry.
Abraham dying in that moment, was that justified to you, or just added shock value?
Oh man,
killing off a beloved character.
I think they did a good job of making it mean something, because we see what happens with Sasha and
the fallout.
Rosita. I think that part of it was probably, I feel like him and Glenn both were probably 2 of the most well executed deaths in that regard, where they actually meant something. Okay. But when you kill off a character like that, and then Glenn too, Glenn's the one that everyone remembers. He's the love
That's
character.
What I'm saying.
I don't like that.
So let me ask you this. Did Abraham also dying ultimately serve the story more, or could the story have been served better if he was still alive and got an additional arc? Because I think I could be wrong, but this is just me from what I've learned from like screenwriting. I think when you introduce a villain, and Negan has one of the greatest introductions of all time, and from any villain, you need to assert his dominance, make people afraid of him, right? All that stuff. And I think you can accomplish that by just killing Glenn. Like, I don't think Abraham's death added anything to introducing Negan to us. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do know what you mean. I think that part of it, like, I think you're very right about that. I don't know if the reasoning was to throw off comic book fans and kind of still make it a painful moment for them, or what exactly it was. I'm not sure, but I look back at that episode, and I'll be honest with you, it's one of those episodes that I just think is so well done that if you change one little thing, it's like I wouldn't want to change one thing if we went back and redid that episode. So yes, I always say I wish Abraham would have lived longer. I would have loved to see him through the Savior War, and stuff like that. But it just, I don't know. I feel like it was that episode is such a masterpiece that I can't imagine without it going down the way it did.
So you think his death ultimately served the story?
Oh, gosh, man,
That's the thing, man. Like for me, like I said, my favorite shows, every death, like in Breaking Bad, serves a purpose, and it ultimately changes Walter, it changes Jesse, it helps advance the plot. Like it's not just there. Like imagine like if Walt just pulled up and killed someone for no reason, and then it just kind of goes away. Like I feel like I didn't watch the show past that, so that's what I'm saying. Like I'm asking you, like, did it serve the story ultimately, or do you think it was added for more shock value?
I think it did serve the story because of Rosita and Sasha, the way that it affected them throughout the rest of the season. But do I think it serviced the story as much as Glenn's did? No, I don't. And that's where it gets a little tricky, because you had two characters die, both with different people that were affected, but one that was a bigger character. So it's hard to catch that if you're not a huge fan of the show. You know, it's hard to explain, but you understand kind of what I'm saying?
Was Abraham's story wrapped up properly though, or did he die mid story? Like, do you think he was wrapped up properly, like his arc had finished?
I think that his arc had finished. Yeah, okay. I do. I think you would have had to start a new one to keep it going, because outside of his relationship, there wasn't much else going on. Him and Eugene worked out their problems literally the same episode that he died. There was they did a good job with it, but by no means do I think it was perfect. I don't think it was perfect. I still think that they missed opportunities with that character that would have been the best fit.
I loved Abraham.
You know what I'm saying? Like Abraham could have had I feel like the Whisperer War, which is in season 9, would have been greatly benefited by a character like Abraham. So I don't feel like he got to live on the show through his best potential episodes and seasons. So it's tough. It's tough with them, man, especially because The Walking Dead has so many characters, like a shitload of characters, a lot. And some of them have similar, attributes and personalities. So it's hard to say. But I don't know. I don't think I would change anything in that episode, but I have seen them in the past kill off characters for shock value alone. T-Dog,
another racist ass name, by the way.
Yeah, extremely.
I'm surprised they just didn't call Glenn like Chink or something, bro. Like with the way they treated characters in the first season or two, like Los Vatos, T-Dog. Like you make the white guy stereotypical redneck meth heads. Like, bro, that first season was full of Glenn, the typical little Asian boy. Like, bro, that's why I'm saying it hasn't aged the best, man.
God damn, man. I didn't really ever think about that. But yeah, you're right, man. Like you're right. That's how it is, that first season.
Yeah.
Okay, so something else I have down that I want to talk to you about. It's more of a theory, but I'm curious if you've ever heard about it. But have you ever heard the theory that The Walking Dead takes place in the Breaking Bad universe?
Yeah, or of course, man.
Vice versa. What do you think about it?
Well, it's Walter's meth, right? That causes everything.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think it's a fun theory. They make a lot of allusions to Breaking Bad. Like I've seen all the Easter eggs and stuff. I think it's pretty fun. I don't know. It's because the technology of The Walking Dead is stuck like in like, well, it would make sense because Breaking Bad takes place in like 2008 to like 2010. And then Better Call Saul, probably the furthest we got in the Breaking Bad timeline, takes place like in 2011, 2012. So I guess, The Walking Dead would have to take place like in 2015 and on, right? To make sense, like for Walter's meth to start causing effects.
Something like that. Yeah, I would have to.
I think it's fun, man. But no, I like them better separate, man.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I just, when I see the blue meth on... Like I'm like, Merle. Okay, this is crazy. You guys are merging this shit, and I see it. Then there's the Challenger, and there's talking about Daryl talks about like his buddy that says bitch all the time or whatever. Yeah. There's a bunch of little things like that I really like. I was curious what you thought about that. So
yeah, it's fun, man.
I think so too. So I do want to talk to you about those shows. So just to conclude, our Walking Dead conversation here, before we move on to kind of other shows and we can talk about other stuff. But I really understand your perspective better now. And I think that a lot of Walking Dead fans that are at least following me and stuff like that, they can't fault you for the way you feel in the show. If you are a fan of a show, you have to be able to know where they did things wrong, right? And if you don't do that and you don't talk about those things, they're going to do it again, right? So it's important to know where your shows went wrong and what part of it might, push people away from wanting to watch it. So I do understand your perspective and I do respect it. I do want to tell you, as a fan of the show that has watched it time and time again, if you go to season 9 of The Walking Dead, episode 6 or 5, it's 6. There's a 6-year time jump, okay? And it's called What We've Become, right?
Was Carl dead already by then?
What's that?
Was Carl dead already?
Carl's dead and Rick is gone.
So they did a 6-year time jump from one episode to the other?
Yep.
That's crazy.
But I want you to do me a favor, okay? I want you to watch that episode.
9-6?
It's 9-6. It's called What We've Become, all right?
Okay.
Because I think just from what you've explained to me, I think if you watch that episode and see a little bit of how the future of the show went after the stuff you're talking about, I'm interested to hear how you think they did the time jump and if you think it was a good job, a job well done in the time jump department. And I want you to get a feeling of what season 9 and season 10 became on The Walking Dead and why people started to get faith back in the show after watching those 2 seasons. So I would love for you to give that episode a try and tell me what you think about it, because I think that if you watch the new generation of The Walking Dead, it might appeal to some of the things that you didn't like about the early ones. I wouldn't listen to these people that all say, oh, only the first 4 seasons are good of The Walking Dead, the rest are trash. I don't believe in that at all. Season 9 is my favorite season of the show. Some of my favorite television ever, and I really think you'll love that episode if you watch it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll give it a chance. I'm actually about to get AMC Plus again. I'm going to start watching a show called Gangs of London, and it's on AMC Plus. So there you go.
Check it out. Yeah, definitely check it out.
So just to round up, right? So why I don't like the show, the loss of interesting characters. I think the pacing at times was really bad, especially we talked about this on my live. The pacing of season 2 was horrendous in my opinion. And I know why the pacing was bad. They had budget issues. They had to stick them on the farm. Like, I get it, but man, that season was hard to get through. So the pacing issues, the lack of the morally great characters, the repetitive plots. We go from 8, we have to find a new place to live. Oh, we've made it. These people seem good. Oh no, they're horrible. Time to find a new spot. And just I just lost interest. I just watched better things and what I think is better. And it's like when you've had like a bone-in ribeye cooked perfectly, right? Why would you want a Walmart steak? You're just going to compare it and it's just going to be inferior in every way. You know what I mean? Like,
that's a little harsh, but yeah, I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And that repetitive storyline, it ends in season 6, season 5 when they go to Alexandria. So I
just don't remember. That's all.
It does eventually come to an end. And yeah, I'm not saying you might not have even watched it, honestly, but if you did, it was probably when you were going slower through the episodes. But they do kind of fix that problem. But I even back then, when I was really young watching it, I remember feeling like it was a little bit repetitive. And I think that's a rational thing to feel about the show. But I also have to let you know that over half of the show now, going into season 11, 6 seasons have been spent in one location in terms of where they live. So that's important to remember as well.
That's good.
Yeah, so they have kind of fixed that problem, but I can't give any, I can't disagree with you about the morally gray characters. I think that's a really good perspective because I can't disagree with you there. I think that they lacked it for a while, almost in between Merle and then Negan, in between that whole area, not even the first Negan, like Negan post, the Saviors fall apart and stuff. That's a long time without a morally great character, and for somebody that's looking for one, it may not be interesting to watch if you can't.
It just makes it, it just makes things more interesting when you have those characters where you just never know what they're gonna do. It spices things up, in my opinion, especially when you have a repetitive plot, which they did for what you said 6 seasons. Yeah,
5 seasons, 6 somewhere in there. Yeah. So I get that for sure.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, no, I mean that's pretty much it. Like, obviously, for anybody who's listening, I don't think it's the worst show ever, dude. Obviously not. There's so many. There's like. Although I will be honest with you, from what I saw, if I had to give it a ranking, because I don't do number rankings, right? I do tier rankings for television because I feel like it's really hard to condense a season's worth of television into a number. I think when you give it tiers, like it's more broad. So it's like, so for me, if I had to give it, like I'd give it like honestly like a high C tier to which is average, to a low B tier, which is above average. Like it's nothing stellar to me. But it's definitely not bad. Like you can't say it's bad, you know?
Right. I think if you watch that episode that we talked about,
9-6.
or even just a few of like maybe 9, 6, 7, and 8. If or, you know, if you decide you like it enough to watch it, if not, it's totally okay. But
I can watch it without context.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Once that's why the time jump when it happens, all you need to know is Rick just left. Other than that, it's a new start. You'll see newer versions of the characters.
That's so bad, bro. Doing that. I mean, maybe they did it right. I'll watch it.
I think they did it right. I personally think they did it right, and I was worried about it too, but I think they did it right. So give it a try, watch those, and it'll give you an idea of what they did with the show after the things that you watched that you didn't like. And I think if you watch it and you see the route they went, I think that you might change your mind. I really do. I think you might think it's a little bit better than what you remember, and it may change your perspective on it because they do a really solid job with season 9, and I love that season. So all right. So one more. We got a couple of more things to talk about real quick here before we hop off. So number one, and I'm really curious because I actually haven't seen you make a video about this because you made a video review and I didn't want to get spoiled. So I skipped over it and I just never went back and watched it. But the Better Call Saul ending, correct me if I'm wrong here, but this is the end of Breaking Bad universe. I hope so. You think so?
I hope so, yeah.
Why do you hope so instead of them keeping things going?
Because you just don't want to overstay your welcome. Sometimes I think it's a very underrated aspect to know when to walk away. I have no doubt in my mind that Breaking Bad would have dropped in quality if it kept going. Same thing with Better Call Saul. Same thing, you know, with like any show, any good show, like they know when to end. And I think we've told as many interesting stories as we can tell in this universe. Like I think it's time for it to like ride off into the sunset as one of the greatest television properties ever created. Like I think adding anything additional to that, in my opinion, will feel like they're milking it.
I can respect that, and in some ways I can understand that. I don't necessarily agree with anything being like necessarily milked or like pushed too far if the show is still doing well, because I think about things from a business perspective as well, you know, and I think you probably do the same a little bit, but it's like if I'm selling like my product and it's selling a lot, I'm not going to stop selling it. Like I'm not going to overstay, you know.
But that's the thing, man. Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould and the writing team, like they're artists first and foremost, man. They chose to walk away, you know, to end the show. Dude, I guarantee you AMC would have given them a blank check to keep making shows, because while Better Call Saul isn't a ratings juggernaut, it is a very, like, you know, it's a prestige show, right? Where every network wants to have a show that can win awards, even though Better Call Saul's never won one. It's still like a prestige show. So I have no doubt that they would have told them, like, make more seasons if you want. But they chose to end it because they know, like, it's good for things to have a conclusion. And I kind of agree with that, where it's good to walk away, man. It's not easy to walk away from a big paycheck like that, you know?
So the main question here, do you feel like the Breaking Bad's your favorite universe ever? So do you feel like they ended your favorite universe in the right way?
I think so, man. I think it was a really beautiful ending, man, where it was Jimmy finally like atoning for all his sins and kind of finally facing like the trauma that he's held his whole life. Because I think like a lot of Better Call Saul, man, could have been solved if they just got some fucking therapy, dude.
Yeah.
Like
honestly, I love that too. Love Jimmy, and that story is, you know, I'll talk a little bit more about it later, but I loved it. So I agree with you.
like I think the quiet, somber ending to the universe is it's just so perfectly in line with what the entire universe has been, like a very quiet, kind of slow burn character study where the way they started it is the way they ended it, in my opinion. And I just love the way it ends with Jimmy and Kim. When you really think about it, Better Call Saul was kind of a twisted, fucked up love story, man, between the two. You know, like looking
That's
back on
a
it.
interesting perspective, but I like that. And Jimmy, that I watched it, and I had a hard time getting through some of Better Call Saul. I'll be honest
I've
with you.
heard that. No,
I
I've
could,
heard that. Mhm.
and I think you have to be a huge fan of Breaking Bad to really enjoy it. And for me, I tried, but I definitely gave it a try, and there was definitely things that I enjoyed. But
Mhm.
the thing that I loved about it, and I don't want to say too much negative because it is a good show.
No,
The
go
thing I
ahead,
loved
man.
about it is how relatable it felt to me. How
Mhm.
Jimmy's story felt to me. And I think a lot of people,
Jimmy's a lot more relatable than
it
Walt,
oh, absolutely. It's a show that you can be more relatable to.
and
And
likable.
oh, absolutely with him. And I don't know. I really liked that too. Do I think it was the greatest ending? I mean, it's not fair for me to give my opinion when I'm not a super fan of the show,
No, you're allowed to give it, man.
but I would be upset if The Walking Dead ended that way, I think.
But The Walking Dead's a very different show, though, so it has to have a different ending.
Yeah, very true. I don't know what, to me it almost didn't feel like the end. I don't like the end of everything. Like not just Better Call Saul. This is the end. Like there's no more. And I don't know if I was just hoping for, and I know the episode before the finale had a little more going on, but
Mhm.
I don't know if I was waiting for something to just happen or what, but I couldn't help but feel that it didn't
Underwhelmed.
deliver.
So I think for me, like the episode did deliver on everything we've been waiting on this whole time. We've been waiting on Jimmy to finally deal with the grief. He never dealt with Chuck. He never dealt with Kim. Saul Goodman was a manifestation of his like trauma and his loneliness. Like Saul Goodman was where he would go to hide from the world. And I think Better Call Saul ending with him telling the judge, "My name is Jimmy McGill." Like to me, that was like the end of his character arc right there. Is when he finally accepted who he was as Jimmy and not Saul Goodman. When he finally admitted to all his crimes, he even admitted to what he did to Chuck. And the whole thing about the time machine, would you go back in time? The entire episode, Jimmy first. Yeah, I would invest in Berkshire Hathaway. And Mike looks at him, really? That's what you would do? Money? And he says, what else is there? Again, he's hiding. He's hiding his trauma. And then when with Walter, even Walter looks at him. That's it? Money? What else is there? And like finally in that flashback with Chuck, I think it's telling us what he would have gone back to change. Maybe he would have had another conversation with Chuck and his life could have been different. If you don't like the road you're on, you can always change where you're going. And I think that whole thing just it wrapped up his character because he finally changed the road he was on. He did it. I thought it was beautiful, man. Him finally, like it was like I was waiting for this. Like finally, like you saw Kim was holding it back the whole time until she broke down on the bus. She let it all out. Jimmy had yet to do that. And it just to me, it felt so good to see that. To me, I was like, this is the ending of Saul Goodman. Like, this is what I wanted, you know? Because it's such a different show, you know?
It is. I really I love that perspective on it, man. I do. And I think like I said, in that way it's very relatable. And it's yeah, I do think that it was the ending of his story for sure. And I think it was done really well. I didn't even think about some of the stuff you just talked about. So it's really cool to hear. I might have to watch it again. Honestly, I might have to watch it again because I only watched it once and I really would like to watch it again just to kind of see how much that I can feel. But I also think that what they catered to was really smart because now all of your Breaking Bad fans and your Better Call Saul fans, they all wanted this. So, people like you that are a huge fan of the show, they got what they wanted out of it, right? And
Yeah.
is it the easiest for a casual viewer? Maybe not.
No.
But this
No,
universe has
dude.
never wanted to. They never wanted to just to knock the socks off a bunch of the casual viewers. They want to deliver to their fans.
Dude, what other show will open their show with a 6-minute black and white scene with no dialogue? Like that just takes balls to do, man. Like, you know what I mean? Like all
You're
those cold
right.
opens they have with no dialogue, maybe some music playing. Even the first episode of Better Call Saul, like there's no dialogue for like 3 or 4 minutes. It's just like Jimmy in the bathroom trying to psych himself up. Like It's ballsy, man. And then I have to commend them for the pacing of it, because while you don't like the pacing, and a lot of people don't, I love the pacing of the first 3 seasons. Like, it takes a lot of balls to be able to draw a line in the sand and say, I'm going to tell the story the way I want to.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't like it, then watch something else, because the first 3 seasons are slow. And I do think it's a valid criticism of the show. But to me, that pacing, while slow, it was perfect for the story they wanted to tell, which was a slow burn, introspective character study on, Saul Goodman, the man, the persona, the person, So yeah, I love it, man.
I do. I like the show too as a whole. As a viewer of television in general, you can't deny that it's a good show. It just like I said, I wish that I was more invested into the whole universe, because I think it would have hit me so much harder throughout all of Better Call Saul.
Everybody connects with things differently. Like for me,
right.
I couldn't connect with Game of Thrones like other people, and people have been upset since I started posting reviews about it, man.
I couldn't connect either, man. I mean, you're not alone there. I had a hard time with Game of Thrones. I tried.
Except for Tyrion. Tyrion was awesome.
Oh yeah, I tried, and I watched, what's it called, the Red Wedding or whatever.
I didn't feel shit, dude, and people were so mad about that.
Dude, me either, man. We've seen shit like the Pike scene, like Hank's death and shit. Like, there's way more heart-shattering shit.
Howard's death?
Oh yeah, man. Oh my God. Like, I've seen Lori die during childbirth while T-Dog's getting fucked up in the cafeteria. Like,
he's getting chomped on.
Yeah, like, there's some heartbreaking shit going on. Like, I don't care about that damn Red Wedding, but Game of Thrones still ended poorly, but whatever. So while we're here, last thing I got on my notes here. So what are you watching now? Now that your show's over, what are some things, like, I don't know if you're a big movie guy or still just in television in general, but what are you watching now? What are you enjoying? What do you recommend to my followers, to your followers, to go check out right now?
So, I do like watching movies. I just haven't gone out to the theater as much, man. When you work as much as you do and I do, your time is limited. Do I really want to spend 3 hours to go out to the movie theater, or do I want to watch just something at home? So I end up watching a lot of television, but I do think that the best stories are told on television, because they have 10 hours to tell a story, and I think you just connect with the characters better. So I personally, when I was younger, I was all about movies, but then again, I had more free time to go out to the movie theater. Now, as an adult with a wife and a job and everything, I prefer television easily. There's a lot of shows that are out there, because I know a lot of your fans are younger people. So it just depends on what they're into. Like, what else are you watching? Just out of curiosity.
So I'm kind of all over the place right now, but the Walking Dead being on is good. I actually recently started watching more movies. And I did go to a theater and watch that Barbarian movie, which I thought was exceptional. Really good.
I heard it was great.
I watched Prey on Hulu.
That was
dope. That was a really great movie as well. God, I'm a big reality TV fan, man.
Oh, let's go,
shit,
bro. Damn, especially when you got a girl, bro. Like, that's perfect, like, garbage television to watch at dinner.
I love that shit. The Challenge, like, I love that
90 Day Fiance, bro. Dude, that's where it's at.
I'm sorry, like, maybe it's not the most intriguing shit, but I like Big Brother. Like, I don't know, I watch that stuff. But honestly, like, if The Walking Dead's not on and I have some free time to, like, watch something, because I also watch football. So between work, football, Walking Dead, very rarely do I find time to watch other shows. But also Prison Break I'm watching right now. I'm giving it a try. I'm in the middle of the first season.
First season is amazing, but after season 2, it's terrible, bro.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a try. So I'm about halfway through. Also, like, this is completely different than anything we've talked about, but 60 Days In, have you watched that before?
Yeah.
So I'm on what, I don't know what season they're on. Season 8, season 7.
It's an interesting show, dude.
It's really good. I like that show a lot. So I give that a try too. But yeah, I'm getting through Prison Break. I'm gonna cover it a little bit, but yeah, that's where I'm at. But it's hard right now. It's hard.
So I'll give you a rundown of my top 10 shows of the year. So, and then I'll explain a few of them. So in case people want to watch something different. So
for sure.
Number 1, of course, to me, Better Call Saul, best show of the year. Then after that, number 2, 3, and 4 could honestly interchange. But at number 2, I would have a show called The Bear. The Bear is about it's like a comedy / drama about a young world-class chef who comes home to manage his brother's restaurant after his brother passes away. It's 8 episodes, 20 to 30 minutes an episode, and it got renewed for season 2. It's a man, that show will make you cry by the end, man. Like tears streaming down your face, and it's funny. It's fast paced. There's one episode in particular, episode 7, where if you've ever seen Uncut Gems, it feels like Uncut Gems in television, and it's so intense. It's all in one shot. Fucking nuts, dude. So I recommend that. Then number 3, I have Barry. I don't know how many of you have seen Barry. Have you seen Barry?
I haven't, but I've been told by somebody else on my podcast to watch it, so I might have to give it a try.
So Barry's about a hitman who goes out to LA to do a hit, and then he kind of just meets a bunch of actors. So now he wants to give up the hitman life to become an actor. It's like a very dark and interesting character study of a man who is just fucked up in the head. It's extremely funny, but the show gets progressively darker and darker as the show goes on, to the point when I was watching the 3rd season and I was like, dude, I remember when the show used to be funny. Like, it gets so fucked up and dark. It's so good, man. I highly recommend it.
I'm gonna check that one out next. That's gonna be next on my watch list. I've heard great things about that, actually. Great things.
It's like a dark comedy drama, but I kind of find it disrespectful that they put it in the comedy category. It has funny moments, but it's not a comedy. But so number 4 is going to be Severance. Severance is a show about it's like a interesting concept. It's like a critique on the workplace in America and work culture. And basically it's like there's a company where you can get a piece of your brain cut out. So when you're at work, you only know, like, you're like a different person at work. You don't know what's going on outside of work. And when you're outside of work, you don't know what happens in work. It's like, yeah, dude, they sever that part of your brain. So once you clock into work, you're like all you know is work. And when you get out of work, all you know is your outside life. So it's like you never leave work. You're always at work, because it's like waking up. You just never leave it, dude. It's really good. Trust me. It's like a high concept, premise.
Like a mind bender almost.
Yeah. Oh, it's like a thriller, mind bender, suspense, drama / bits of comedy here and there. Dude, every episode just builds on the tension and suspense, and like it builds and builds until the season finale, dude, is one of the most intense, like heart pounding, like season finales you'll ever watch, dude. Like, it's so good, man.
Where can you watch it?
Apple TV.
Apple TV. I might go give that a try. That sounds good too.
Then I have The Boys. We all know about The Boys.
Yeah.
And number 6, probably House of the Dragon. Really good. Number 7, 7, 8, 9, and 10. It could be a toss-up between many different shows. I haven't hammered that part out, but like, there's a show called 1883. If you're into Westerns, have you seen a show called Yellowstone?
Yeah, I have. I've watched it a little bit, not a ton, but I've heard good things, and I do enjoy the first few episodes. But
yeah, so 1883 is a prequel set in 1883, and it's really good, man. It has the legend Sam Elliott, and it's just people trying to get to the West, and it's a realistic depiction of the Wild West, and it's super fucked up. It's brutal. It's really good. Then I have Winning Time, about the Lakers dynasty, since you like sports.
That's a great one. I've watched that. That's a great one.
So the thing with that is I thought the writing was so, but in terms of just pure entertainment, that show is so entertaining from start to finish. Dude, John C. Reilly gave the performance of his life, dude.
And literally, a lot of people don't even know about it. That's the crazy thing. The only reason I know about it is because of NBA Twitter. That's the only reason why I heard about it.
He was so charismatic. Like, oh my God. Like one of the best performances of the year, bro.
For sure. One of the best of the year.
Peacemaker is another great show, obviously. A show called Reacher. I don't know if you've seen Reacher.
I haven't heard of Reacher before.
You ever seen Blue Mountain State?
Yes.
The guy who plays Thad?
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays like a former military operative, and he goes in. It's like the premise is like something you've seen a million times. The mysterious lonely stranger strolls into a town. There's a conspiracy going on in the town. He gets wrapped up in it, and here he is trying to bring it down. Yeah,
Dad Castle, like, is it does all this? Like,
dude, have you not seen how he looks?
no, I don't think I have in a
Bro,
while.
he's a fucking brick shithouse, bro.
Is he? I believe it. Like, he was kind of
No,
that way on Blue Mountain State,
he
even. So
he was amazing, man. And it's a typical, like, like I said, stranger rolls up to a town. There's problems going on. He gets wrapped up in it, and now here he is trying to solve it. And it's like a thriller / action show. It's really good. So
no,
those are some
that
shows.
sounds good. I know he's been on something else too.
Yeah.
I know his actor's been on something else recently too.
Titans.
Yeah,
Titans.
there you go.
And
yeah,
he was great on Titans, man.
I've heard he was good on that too. So that's a little surprising that I wouldn't have expected him of all characters from Blue Mountain State.
He's great, man. He kicks ass, bro. Like, he's perfect. And then right now, what I'm currently watching, so I'm watching obviously House of the Dragons. I started watching Rings of Power. I'm going to start watching Gangs of London because I've heard really good things about it. And season 2 is coming out in a couple days. So, I stopped watching older shows because I want to just watch what's current. I'm also, I need to finish watching The Terminal List, that show with Chris Pratt.
Yeah.
I need to watch that. I got through like the first episode. It was fine, but I don't know. Yeah, dude, I think that's it. Oh, and I'm also rewatching Succession.
Hey, man, you're probably gonna. I'm still waiting for you to say The Walking Dead, man. What the hell?
Nah, I'm good, bro.
I'm just.
But yeah, I'm watching a lot, man. But if I had to recommend one show to you, bro, watch The Bear. It'll be a quick binge for you, man.
I'll check it out, man. I'll check that one out first for sure.
That's on Hulu. Hulu.
Good, cool. Yeah, I will check that one out for sure. And I'll watch that. You watch the Walking Dead episode we talked about.
All right, I'll watch it.
You got to watch the grand finale of The Walking Dead when it airs. So this is your opportunity to get back in just a little bit.
Live stream it. I'll live stream with you, even though I'm not going to watch anything else probably, but I'll watch the finale with you.
I actually have a cookie, and I'm trying to get Television Hub to join me for it, but I'm trying to get some guys together to stream it, watch it, and experience it together. There's a petition out. There's a petition out right now for AMC to air the finale at the same time for everybody, right? So AMC Plus users, AMC users, everybody watches it at the same time. And I think that's a good idea.
Nightmare. I don't know if they'd be able to do that.
I know, but it would be. Nice.
How far are we from the series finale?
4 weeks.
4 weeks. Wow.
Yeah, it's coming up. It's coming up, and they're at a good point in the story right now, depending what they do. I think that
Rick is back already, right?
What's that?
Rick is back already?
Not yet. Not yet.
No?
No. So they're basically hoping that he appears at the end and then he gets a spinoff after. That's kind of what the community wants. It'd be hard to put him in the story right now, is what I'm trying to say. It'd be difficult for them to do right now. So
okay.
But no, I mean, we had a good talk about it. I understand why you feel the way you feel about The Walking Dead. I think why I feel the way I feel about the show. Same with Better Call Saul. So I'm gonna watch that show, The Bear, and I'm gonna have a different perspective on the Better Call Saul finale than I did, because the way
I think it would be fun to see you watch more shows, man. Because the difference between me and you is that you're never gonna run out of content for your favorite show. I ran out, so I have to watch other things, man, to make content. No, you're gonna have content till the day you die, bro.
Yeah, maybe, but like, also got to think. I know we're both kind of coming up on 20K followers pretty soon, which is good, especially for our age. Pretty good to get out there and get that. But think about our shows, man. Like The Walking Dead right now, Tales of the Walking Dead, for example, had 500,000 viewers. If I have 20,000 followers, my fan base that I have left to try to pull in isn't huge. No, so I do want to venture into other things a little bit, especially stuff I'm passionate about. I'm a huge zombie video game fan, a huge Pokemon fan.
2, the GOAT.
What's that?
Left 4 Dead 2, the GOAT zombie
game.
Man,
it, Ed. I love that game. I'm a big ass New York Giants fan too, obviously, but I don't know. There's so much stuff to talk about, but I'm just gonna see what the future holds with The Walking Dead for now, and just like I will start to watch more stuff. I wish I had more time to get more content up.
No, it's hard, man. I know it's hard, dude. There's some days I just don't feel like making anything, dude. Even like making just simple TikTok sometimes feels like a drag, dude.
No, it does. When you work as much as we do, like it's real, man. Like the exhaustion is real. Like just being done, worn out, man. Like it's hard. especially during the work week, like I'll try to find a time that I'm motivated to do it and film like 7 drafts
Yeah,
in a
that's
row.
what I do.
Yeah, just to hopefully like have stuff to post throughout the days and stuff. And recently I went on a binge there. I had over 300K views on 3 videos in a row. I
Nice.
was like, God, I could just stay on this right now, just keep making videos, but I'm at work. Like, it sucks.
It's just you have that advantage, man, of making content that your show's still relevant. Like my show isn't relevant anymore. So like, I'm trying to stick to whatever shows are coming out. You is there no downtime, or how many Walking Dead shows are going on at once?
There's no downtime. I mean, it's back to back to back from now
Yeah,
until 2024.
that's what I'm
So
saying. So you'll always have like your because obviously you've built a following on people loving talking about The Walking Dead. So you'll always have that to talk about, right? There's no need for you to have to branch out. But for me, unfortunately, it's like my shows are over, man. Like I have to watch other things, and plus, I like watching like a million different shows, So it works for me. But I
I
think it
think
would
you
be
do.
fun to see you branch out and do some other shows.
And I'm definitely planning on it. And I will tell you this, man. Like I think you have a personality and like a wisdom, like a real smartness about you that people are gonna love watching you regardless, man. Like, I mean, really, I do think like, yeah, there's people that don't like you because of what you say about The Walking Dead and stuff. And
Not just that, man.
no,
People
it's
get
not,
upset about BoJack Horseman, apparently.
dude, but
Fucking
that's the
dweebs.
people, man. Like I understand you. Like I do. Like I get you as a person, and I think you're really smart, and I think that it's really cool how
Mhm.
you approach this TikTok thing and how you do on it. I have to give you props for
Thanks, man.
where you've came with your page just in the time that I've been following you. There was a time I was worried you were going to pass me because I'd be watching your followers when we were beefing a little. I was like checking your followers. I'm like, this dude better not fucking pass me because I'm like, he's growing quicker than I am right now, and that's not okay. I was like,
No, dude. The thing is, you don't post as much as I do, but since your show is so relevant, anytime you do post, all your videos do really good numbers. Like
yeah,
that's really
most
good,
time.
bro. It
Thank
helps
you.
having a relevant show, man. Damn, like that's why I said I'm still happy Better Call Saul ended, but it would be nice for it to still be playing. I can make more content on it. I mean, I can still make content on it, but I've said everything I wanted to say about that show already.
Yeah, just find like you just got to find the fan base for the shows that you're watching. And I
Hmm.
think that once you get there, the more out there you get. And hopefully everybody listening to this now will go check out your page and stuff and see or go check out your stuff and give you a follow. Cause I'm a big fan of your stuff and the way that you
Thank you,
talk
man.
about things. I think
Appreciate
you
it.
do a good job. So I don't have any more questions for you, Ricardo, unless you have anything for me.
What is your most annoying critique that people give you if you don't like something? Like, I'm just curious. Like, what annoys you?
Like in terms of if I don't like something, I make a video, what people say back to me, like
Yeah.
in what if for what I don't like. Oh man, that's
For
tough.
for me, it's you just don't understand it. It's like, dude, I understand it.
That's
It's not hard.
or tell me you haven't watched the show without telling me you
Oh
haven't
my
watched the
god,
show.
dude.
Or did you even watch the like? Yeah, I watched the show, obviously. Look at my backdrop, look at my merch. Like
Yeah.
I watched the show.
Dude, just because I don't like something as much as you doesn't mean I don't understand it. Some things are, especially these kids, bro, like they think that when they watch their first adult show, they make it like their whole personality. Like, you just don't understand the show. Like, you don't have media literacy. Like, oh, brother, like,
Like, come
yeah.
on,
I
man.
know, I know you have no bitches, bro. Like, just by the way you talk, like, I know you don't get no play. I know all your friends probably think you're insufferable. Like, oh no, dude.
Damn, man. Like, no, I hate that too because I get that a lot on even stuff that's like positive videos that I'm making. If I just give my opinion on something, sometimes people are like that. They're like, "Oh, you don't even watch The Walking Dead, or you wouldn't feel that way, or whatever." Like, because I don't like
Yeah,
season one, for example. The fan base loves season one. I don't like season one. I get told all the time how wrong I am about it, and I'm like, I've watched this shit a million times. I've seen how big of a waste of time a lot of those episodes are, how blatantly racist it is at times.
yeah.
Like it's yeah, I don't know. I gotta say that's probably my pet peeve there.
Have you watched all the GOAT nominees, like Sopranos, The Wire, Breaking Bad, and Better Call Saul? Have you seen all the contenders?
No, I haven't. I
What
need to
have you seen?
watch. I need to watch The Wire.
Mhm.
I need to watch more of The Sopranos
Okay.
still. What was the other one? Did you say Arrow's on there?
Arrow? What the fuck?
Is
Hell
it?
no. No.
Oh, okay. I don't know. Some people put it on their shit.
Well, I don't know. No, so the reason I was asking you this is I wanted to ask you, where do you have The Walking Dead ranked?
Oh,
Is it in the upper echelon of television?
God.
In
Yeah.
terms of quality, not impact, take away impact, in terms of what you thought of the writing, and all that stuff. Like,
I'm looking at all 11 seasons, correct?
yep.
I would say yes. I would say throughout all 11 seasons, I think that season 9 and 10 is what saved me from saying no, honestly. And that's why I'm telling you to try to watch those episodes in season 9. I think the way they introduce the Whisperers, the way they bounce back from Rick and Michonne and Maggie leaving the show and still make it entertaining. When they switch to digital, the cinematography and the way things look,
Yeah, that'll
like
help
a lot of the things they changed really saved the show for me.
Hard to
Now,
believe they took that long, dude, to switch
I mean,
digital.
they did take a long time because they were going for that old rustic look, like in season.
I get it.
That's what they wanted, but they just couldn't. It wasn't practical anymore. So, no, I definitely think it's in the top. I think it's in the top tier television. I definitely do. I just don't think it's proper to compare it to those other shows. I think all those other shows compare, like Sopranos and Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul. All those shows kind of compare with each other. Whereas The Walking Dead, it's almost a different subgenre.
It's an ensemble show
entirely. It's a universe now. I mean, it is. It's a universe now, and it's not fair to compare it episode for episode with another show because most of the time it will lose.
I would say a show like The Walking Dead is more of a plot-driven show than it is a character-driven show.
Yeah, it is.
As you can tell by some of my favorite shows like Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Barry, Sopranos, like they're very character motivated and they're more singularly focused on its protagonist and maybe one or two, three other characters. I think when you do that, you just provide a better narrative structure, and it's just more focused, more clean versus a show like Game of Thrones, The Walking Dead, those ensemble shows where you're spread so thin trying to condense all these stories together, where I feel like sometimes the writing may slip. And I just prefer like character-driven shows, to be honest. Like I prefer like the big protagonist kind of shows instead of like ensemble stuff. So that's part of the reason too that as I got older, I lost interest like with The Walking Dead. I just prefer like those character studies of like a singular protagonist versus a whole broad ensemble.
I get that. And I hope that when the show ends, when the Walking Dead main series ends, and they no longer have to follow source material, that's when The Walking Dead will become what AMC wants it to be, right? That's where these shows go, these spinoff shows go. They can write whatever they want now, and there's no way
bad thing
to break. It could be, and I am concerned, but I'm less concerned than most people are right now. I have faith in them to do it. I've seen, the backup show writers put together some pretty decent stuff in Fear the Walking Dead, so it gives me some hope that they can deliver a little bit on these spinoff shows. And it's going to be what makes, in my opinion, it's going to make or break a lot of what this universe is to become in the future. If they ever want to do the movies, if they ever want to do, Walking Dead Next Generation, like they've kind of hinted at, like, we'll see. But I really think right now is a crucial time. These next 2 years is crucial.
They need to have good writers in place, man, because look what happened to Game of Thrones. Once they ran out of source material, they fell off a fucking cliff, dude. Like,
oh yeah,
nosedive. No, and like, from everything I've heard about the Walking Dead comics is that they're at worst a good comic book series, at worst, right? And at best, they're amazing. So like, it's nothing but positive stuff about it. So when you run out of that source material, man, like what are you going to fall back on then? If you've had shitty writers, you're going to suffer.
I have faith in the Walking Dead show writers. If they put the right people on the right episodes at the right time, like I've seen them take stuff like, I don't know if you've ever remembered The Grove or the Look at the Flowers episode back in season 4, where Carol basically has to old yeller this girl.
Yes, I remember that episode.
One of the most well-written episodes, in my opinion.
It's a good episode.
And it was an episode, I believe it was episode like 9. It was an episode that was a number that usually is slower. And there wasn't a lot of stuff there to build on. And Scott Gimple wrote that episode, and he did it incredibly, in my opinion.
Gimple. What else has Scott Gimple done? I feel like I've heard that name a lot.
He's
For The Walking Dead.
The main show writer for The Walking Dead for a while. I mean, he's done it for a while. I don't know what else he's done, but he's been big in the Walking Dead universe for a while, like in a lot of the stuff. He's also wrote some really shitty episodes, honestly, but he has his potential to make some really good stuff. The episodes that I told you to watch in season 9, the mid-season finale, which is episode 8, it's called Evolution. Angela Kang wrote that episode. Probably has my favorite and most beautiful cinematography from a cinematography standpoint scene in the whole series, in my opinion. And I think that they write good episodes when they can. I have faith in them to do these spinoffs and do it well. I do.
I want to ask you one thing that always bothered me and my friend, Carol. She leaves, she comes back, and she's just a badass. And all her development happened off screen. That never sat right with me.
I don't know if I would say all her development happened off screen.
Well, to get her to that point.
To get her all the way there. Yeah, I could say so. But you also
like, why did she leave the group? What happened?
She gets kicked out of the group.
How come? I forget.
She killed 2 people that were very, very sick and contagious, and she didn't want them to get the whole prison sick and for everybody to die.
Oh, yes.
She killed those 2 people. Rick found out about it, and he sent her on her way.
Remember. I just hate, this is a huge bother for me, man. I hate when development happens off screen. Like, when she leaves, from what I remember, she was like still, she had grown, but she was still kind of like a timid, kind of weak woman. And she comes back and she's a stone cold badass killer with aimbot. Like, I'm just like, I never bought that, dude. Like, you can't do that stuff off screen, man.
Well, I do, with all due respect, there was some small hints of her developing. For example, she was hosting this class at the prison where she said she was reading books to the kids, where she was actually teaching the kids how to use weapons, right? So that started off killing 2 people, as well. That's pretty ballsy as well. And she had a lot of like dark, cryptic dialogue at times with other people.
She was an abuse victim. Like, I get it, but I just feel like it was a lot really fast.
Yeah,
or not fast, but it just, a lot of it happened off screen, I think.
And what's funny, it's another character that doesn't live that long in the comics. She's not a big character in the comics. So you have that's AMC writing her now. You know what I mean? After about the introduction to the prison, Carol's gone in that point in the comics. So another character similar to Daryl that but with Carol and Daryl being written by AMC, it worries me because at times those characters are a little insufferable at times in the early seasons, but I think they've got a good place now where there are solid characters that the fans love. And honestly, I think that it shows me that they can write characters like that with no source material and make them good characters. And it gives me hope,
What you think about okay, so if I remember correctly, the governor dies, right? And then he comes back the next season, but it's like a prequel, right? Or like his backstory?
A little bit. It's not really a backstory, more so than it is he left Woodbury, and it shows where he went after he left Woodbury.
Wait. So does he, when he kills Herschel, does he die then and there, or does he get away and then kill his team?
He dies then and there. He kills his team first. So he takes his team from Woodbury.
Okay.
They don't attack the prison. He kills all of his people except for like 2. Then he goes and he finds this girl that he's starting to see. He meets a new group. He convinces them to take over the prison, and that's when he attacks and he kills Herschel.
Okay. So I wanted to ask you about 2 moments. What were your thoughts on him just gunning down his group?
Loved it. I loved it. I was like,
it was a little out of character.
It was out of character for what he was, but comic book governor is a psycho, and you see him there's little signals. Yeah, and that's what The Walking Dead is so good at. Little foreshadowing of
like him keeping like was it like alive body parts? Like he had that room, right?
Kept his daughter alive. He had like notebooks full of him writing the same symbols over and over and over again. Like you see that little look in his eyes where he's losing it a little bit.
Mhm.
And that's what the look he had right before he killed all his people.
Okay, so I want to get your thoughts on that. So I remember at the time I thought it was a little too much too fast, I thought. But then again, I was younger and I didn't look at television critically, so maybe I just missed some of the signs. Like I knew he was losing it, but for him to just gun down his whole crew like that, I thought was kind of at a character. Like we hadn't worked towards that yet. You know what I mean?
I think honestly, with all due respect, I think you might have been too young to catch some of the things.
Probably.
Like I was when I first watched it. But when I went back and watched it, you can definitely catch some, like he was having people basically fight each other in a ring with zombies and shit. Like
I remember that's where Merle died, right?
That's around where Merle died. Yeah,
Yeah.
Merle was in that ring with Daryl for a while and stuff too. Like there was a lot of little things that showed that he was borderline psychopathic. Like he was crazy. And yeah, he was showing those signs. So for him to just wipe out his whole group like that, it was shocking still, but it was still kind of what they wanted to do with the governor's character.
That's fair. Hey man, I'm always open to being wrong. I was young, so I probably missed that. I'm just, like I said, it's been a while, so I'm just telling. I may not remember the details of me watching the show, but I remember how I felt at the time.
Yeah,
so that's how I felt at the time. Was kind of like, I don't know, like it felt a little quick. Another thing I wanted to ask you about the governor is, I was happy with how he ended. I thought bringing him back, it didn't work for me either at the time. Like I think we would have been better with what we had gotten already. Personally, that was me.
other than bringing him back.
Like, yeah. Or how? Wait. How did the story work, dude?
It's confusing. I know it's confusing.
So we see him. We get those interactions with Rick, and then we get to his final battle where he kills Herschel, and then we go back and show how he got to that moment, right?
No. So Rick and them are all at the prison. The governor is at Woodbury with Andrea and Michonne. Okay. The governor starts to have some issues with Rick's group. They meet, they've talked a couple times. He puts an army together of people. The governor puts an army together of people and goes to attack the prison. Well, his people were like, I'm not doing this shit. They're psycho. They got grenades and shields and shit. So they all back out, which angers the governor, and he kills all of his own people. The other citizens of Woodbury that are still there, Rick brings them in. So Tyrese, Sasha, Michonne, all of the people that were there, brings them in and forms them into a real community. The first episode we see, the governor is standing out in the woods looking at the prison by himself.
I remember that.
So then we see a backstory of the time between Rick and Herschel forming this community and the governor leaving the Woodbury. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's where we get the backstory.
I think that backstory just didn't work for me again because like I just wasn't on board with him killing his crew. So that's probably what it was.
It's a little bit confusing if you aren't freshly watching it, the way it's broken up. So I understand that.
Where do you rank the governor in terms of all the villains you've seen in The Walking Dead? Because you've seen more than me, obviously, but where do you rank him?
He's number 3 for me.
Who's number 1 and 2? Is it Negan number 1?
Yeah, Negan's 1, Alpha's 2 for me. I love the Whisperer stuff. I think Samantha Morton, actress wise, is incredible. And I think that I really like the context of them, because instead of just being an evil group, the Whisperers are so unique and so different and shocking, like, to what they do. And I really like that. And I think Alpha's a great leader for it. I like the governor as well. I just not as much as the other two. I think he's better. I
thought it was great.
I think he's better than a lot of the little smaller villains, or even our current villain on The Walking Dead, Lance and Pamela.
Yeah, I've heard critiques from your fan base that honestly that the villains from your universe are not very good besides a couple of them.
There's a few good ones. There's a lot of small ones that are kind of like whatever, you know. I mean, they're not great, they're not bad. Just whatever.
Who's better, Negan or Lalo Salamanca?
Oh, that's a tough one, man. Don't do me like that. No, it's always Negan, man. That's my dude.
Dude, Lalo was a great antagonist, was he not?
Yeah, he was, bro. He was.
Dude, that motherfucker was psycho. And you know the crazy part about that show? When the season 6 started, it's like you don't see him but you felt his presence throughout the entire show. You were just waiting for him to pop up like the fucking boogeyman. Like, I remember watching that. Like, I'm like, bro, is he gonna pop up here? Until we finally see him. He's just chilling in Germany, having a sip.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about him at all. He's
Yeah.
just like I loved how they handled his character, but like,
How'd you feel about his death?
I don't know. I honestly, when I first watched it, I felt like I knew it was coming. And I don't know
Yeah,
if I'm
me too.
alone in that, but I did feel like I knew it was coming.
It had to. It had to happen, because then it
Because
would
of
have
that, it was
caused massive
underwhelming.
plot holes in Breaking Bad.
Yeah, and I feel like I knew it was coming, and for that reason, it was underwhelming. But as for the scene itself, I thought it was pretty good. I would say like a 7 out of 10.
So for me, one thing that bothers me about that scene is people say Gus had plot armor, because obviously he's in Breaking Bad, and to me, plot armor is
It's almost necessary sometimes.
it's not just that, but plot armor to me is like, for example, Game of Thrones. Did you watch the Battle of the Bastards?
That's before the Red Wedding, right? Or is it after?
No, it's after.
Then no, I didn't watch it.
Okay, well, you have Jon Snow charge into the crowd by himself. As he's charging, there's 1,000,000 arrows flying at him. Not one of them hits him. He then gets bum rushed by an entire army. You have people dying left, right, front, backwards, and not once is he hit. He survives all that, right? To me, that is plot armor. There's no justifiable reason he should have survived that. Now, with Better Call Saul, they meticulously showed Gus preparing for this exact scenario, because he's a man who prepares for everything. He loosened the cord. He set a gun under there just in case. And when the time came, he had his plan in place. To me, that is not plot armor. To me, that is within his character, and the story serviced it properly. Like, yes, Gus had to survive, but to me, they did their best to not make it like imagine if none of that was set up, and it just shows Gus like they get into a shootout and every shot misses Gus and he hits Lalo. You know what I mean? Or something like, without the prior setup of his planning. To me, like, there's a big difference when you use the word plot armor. And like, I just thought that was a dumb critique personally.
Do you know what they were planning on doing? Like the show writers were planning on doing before they decided to have Gus be the one to do it?
I don't remember. No,
they were planning on having a shootout between Mike and Lolo.
No, man. I think
that's what they were planning on. Yeah. And then they said, let's have the two main guys go face to face and switch their routes. But that was the initial plan.
I will say it's hard for me to watch that scene because I love him, but Giancarlo's Spanish is just fucking awful, bro. That's one of my biggest criticisms of Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. The Spanish is just fucking terrible, dude. Like, it's hard for me to get into the scenes when they have this ridiculously terrible Spanish from Hector, from Gus, from the guy who plays Don Eladio. He may be Cuban, but his Spanish, he's like American Cuban, because his Spanish is not very good.
And you speak Spanish, right?
Yeah, I'm Mexican American. Like, listening to their Spanish makes me want to punch a fucking wall. And like when you have Gus doing his monologue to Lalo, right? Like oh, you know, Don Eladio, like it's just so bad, bro. Like, I'm just like, oh my god, like it makes me cringe. But you know, disregarding that, I did like Lalo's death. That's the thing about Better Call Saul, where the writing is constantly so well done and it keeps you guessing, that something that when you really think about it, Lalo's death could have only happened one way. And they told us, they showed Gus setting up everything.
Yeah.
They told us, but with how many twists and turns the writing had done up to that point, I mean, we just saw fucking Howard die. We saw Nacho die. Like, we're guessing, like, oh my God, what if this happens? When it played out the exact way it should have. Like, there was no other way that could have played out his death.
You're right.
Like, the writing kept us like so on our toes and engaged that the most obvious thing is what we didn't think about. You know, I don't know. That's just how I saw it. Like,
it was good. Honestly, it was good. And
yeah,
I do think like it's better than what they planned on doing, for sure.
Yeah. It had to be up close and personal. A shootout, man. No.
It did, and that's something like they will adapt a lot of the times to what their story, like what is needed.
What you
And
think of Nacho's ending?
I'm trying to refresh me
You
on it a little bit.
you think of me,
Oh yeah, yeah. Okay, sorry. I was like, who? For
dude.
some reason, I got so bad with those other character,
Yeah,
like during that
his
time.
Spanish is bad too.
Yeah, it's like I don't know that part of the show because when what season is that in?
That's season 6, man. That's the first
Early
half of
season
season 6.
six,
Yeah,
early season.
Nacho died in 6-3.
So when I watched that one for the first time, when I watched the beginning of season 6, I I think I didn't like the end of season 5, and I wasn't as into season 6 as I thought. I was watching it, but I wasn't wasn't grabbed by it. I don't
You
know.
weren't grabbed by the shootout at Lalo's compound?
I was, but I wasn't like as invested in the
Mhm.
story
Of Kim and Jimmy?
as I wanted to be at that point,
Right.
where I was in the earlier seasons of the show. So I don't know. I don't know. I
How'd
don't
you
know.
feel? What were your thoughts when Howard died?
Howard's was one of the I literally almost cried in that one. I thought that was sad as shit. That's
And
the one I
then and then to make it worse, it wasn't because the episode right after was Point and Shoot where Lalo dies, but the episode after that, they open with that cold open of you see Howard's car, you see the shoe there, the water. I'm like, bro, this is so sad. And then you see him getting buried with Lalo. I'm like, bro, this is like the most sad thing I've ever seen, dude.
dude, it's that part of the show, like it was
Hard
crazy
to watch.
fast paced they went with it, dude. Like it was like you couldn't even process shit. Like it
Yep.
was
Plan
that
and execution, point and shoot. And then the one following that where Kim and Jimmy break up and he turns into Saul Goodman. Like, what a crazy 3-episode run, dude.
right. And that having one of those it's a risky situation. Sometimes you don't want to do 3 fast-paced episodes back to back to back, but they did it and they did really well at it. And I've seen other shows do it too, but a lot of times they do 2 fast-paced and then a slow one, or 2
Yeah.
fast-paced, slow one, or fast, slow, whatever. But yeah, yeah, for sure. So I mean, yeah, with those shows too, like they are very well written, and there's no
Mhm.
denying that Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul are both very well written. Um, and I've noticed that just watching it, just watching it. I think the pacing isn't ideal for
Yeah.
me as a viewer, but for a lot of people, they love it, and I get it. So
Yeah, I had my issues with season 6. I rank it towards the bottom half, to be honest, of the
really,
show. People are like, what? Like, did you not see the show? I'm like, yeah, dude, I saw it. Like, I had my issues with it.
being like switching up like a little bit from what the show usually does and being more fast paced like that, like switching, it almost felt
Yeah.
different. I think that's
It
what I was
was.
trying to say earlier. It almost felt disconnected in a sense.
Mhm.
So yeah, I don't know. That can push some people away sometimes.
My favorite parts were like the slower, more introspective parts of the show, like the cartel stuff. Like that's not why I watched the show. I was into it for Saul and his brother Chuck, for Kim, for Mike's story before he joined the cartel. Like those are the first 3 seasons, which are a lot of people's least favorite, are my favorite for that reason.
Honestly, I really like Mike's character.
Mm-hmm.
Like one of my personal favorites from all of it,
Yeah,
and I loved watching that early on. I did.
yeah.
I loved watching that. So
But like for me, season 6, like I think the pacing, I think it might have been a mistake with what they did with some of the back half of season 6. Like when we got into the Gene timeline, I feel like some of it didn't need to be that long. They probably could have cut an episode or two and condensed a lot of Gene's moments into it. I also think one of the worst episodes of the entire show happened in season 6, which was the one where Jimmy and Howard box each other. Like it's just like, really, like, we're doing this. Like I think I think not that was in the first 3 episodes, or no, or maybe after Nacho died. It's like, dude, we just had this insane moment with Nacho, and this is what we're doing. Like, I don't know.
of all the routes you could have gone, yeah, no, I get that.
No, and I think for me, like, I love Lalo, but I think he was turning more into a super villain than like a villain. Like, for example, it's like I didn't mind him surviving the shootout because it makes sense. From he knows the layout of his house, he has the hometown advantage, right? But then he's almost like the mysterious boogeyman in the sense of showing up everywhere. Like, how do you get to Germany? Oh, like, oh, he was able to track down Werner's guys by just seeing where the thing was made. Oh, he's there now. Like I don't know, dude. Like Lalo started, it was getting a little too unbelievable for me for a
Like
show so
overlord
grounded.
type villain, like where knows all sees all type villain.
Yeah, dude, that's the thing. And they did that with Gus in Breaking Bad originally, but it didn't. He felt like the grand overseer of everything, but it felt more plausible because this dude just had everything on lock. Like he was just a calculated genius. With Lalo, it started feeling like more implausible and unrealistic. Of course, the show itself is unrealistic, right? But
Right.
it's unrealistic, but as realistic as you can get for television, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah,
And
that's
Lalo just started feeling like more and more over the top and unrealistic. Like, I don't know, dude. Like some of it, it just that I didn't like it.
pushing it. Like The Walking Dead's even done that a couple times,
Yeah.
honestly.
You were about to say it real quick before I lose it. They were pushing my suspension of disbelief.
Yeah, right. No, and that's The Walking Dead's done it too. They've
Mhm.
done it with like Alpha, for example. Like she set like a boundary, like, okay, you cross our border, that's it. And it's like she can see the border constantly. Like
Mhm.
Snowstorm, you're seeing the border long enough to know if anybody crosses it with no cameras, no electricity. Like, come on,
Mhm.
like how over, like, how do you know I'll see all like this? Like, I get it. I get it when they get super villainy for sure.
Yeah, it just like I don't know, bro. That became a little much for me. Like I wasn't too happy with that. And like I said, some of the pacing, like I'm not gonna lie to you, like those first three episodes that were all about Nacho, I almost was like, are you fucking serious right now? When they would cut to Kim and Jimmy, like doing a scheme on Howard. Like, for example, I think in the middle of Nacho's episode, they were like having Jimmy break into the showers to plant cocaine, and it's just like, bro, like, can we just go back to Nacho? Like,
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 please.
yeah, like I feel like the what I always said about what do I think is better, Breaking Bad or Better Call Saul? I would say that Breaking Bad had the highest peaks, right? Like the oh my god, blow your mind moments. But I always said Better Call Saul was more consistently like excellent from start to finish. Like I think the first two seasons of Breaking Bad have their issues. I think tonally, you can tell by watching the first season of Breaking Bad that you could tell the show didn't quite know where it was going. It
Uh,
hadn't found its footing yet. Was it a black comedy? Was it this gory show? Was it, this or that? And eventually they figured it out. The benefit of being a prequel is you know what you're going to do. So Better Call Saul was more consistent from start to finish in terms of its writing, at least to me. It had better characters, but it couldn't match Breaking Bad in the peaks until season 6. I think season 6 had the highest peaks in the show, and I could finally give that title to Better Call Saul, where hey, now it has the peaks to go with Breaking Bad, so now I can definitively say it's better. But I do think we had some of the lowest lows in season 6,
yeah.
like the Nippy episode where he's doing that mall scheme.
Uh,
Like I get it, you know, like Jimmy can't help himself, right? It's like a character flaw that he can't help himself from doing these schemes. That's what he does to cope. He misses the life. We get that. We've been told this already for some time now. We've been getting told and told from Chuck, from Kim, from Jimmy himself by showing it in his actions that he cannot help himself. So why are we spending another episode once again explaining that Jimmy cannot help himself? Like, and it's just stuff like that that really brings season 6 down for me. Although I still think it's like amazing, but to me, like season 4, I think is better. Season 3, I think is better. Um, Maybe season 5, maybe even season 1. I love season 1, but
it's
yeah,
crazy. Like
that's my long spiel. Sorry.
when shows do that, like shows do that, like The Walking Dead season 7's a really good example. Started with one of the greatest episodes
Right,
ever,
right.
and
Which I've
a
heard
lot
that.
of a lot of people can't name another good episode in season 7. Like seriously, like see, I like season 7, like because it's Walking Dead, and I love watching The Walking Dead. I mean, I think the same way you feel about Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul, you're gonna watch the episodes regardless. You know, it don't matter
Mhm.
how shitty it is.
Right,
That's our shows. We're gonna watch
right.
it. You know, and I watch it for that. But like they started just with the highest peak ever, so you can't drop that season down to the bottom of the list. You don't want to, but it's like, what else did I enjoy in this season? Like, to me, it's the second worst season out of all 11, but it starts with such a great moment. So it's like, how do you put it that low, you know?
It goes back to what I said, though. I commend the writers for not giving a fuck. They're like, we're going to tell the story the way we want. If you don't like the pacing, too bad. Like, and it was, dude, I mean, plan and execution. Then we have the break, point and shoot. And then the one where Saul and Kim break up. You go from that 3-episode run, which is insane, to then you're in black and white and you have Gene doing the whole nippy thing, like, you know, and it's like, that's ballsy, but it didn't work to me. Like, we could have condensed some of that story, man.
So yeah, for sure.
Like, imagine if you keep getting told like, you know, oh man, you know, Rick is always the loose cannon. He can't help from killing people who get in his way. And here we are 3 seasons later. Oh man, look at Rick. Like, they keep putting it in your head that like he can't help himself. Like, dude, we know that already. Like, let's move on, you know?
No, that's something that, like, I've seen so many shows struggle with, honestly, something really similar. And that's why I really want the ending of The Walking Dead to be good, because you know, I just know that if they do not deliver on things, people are not going to be able to shut the hell up about it. It's not. I know, because every time I hear about Game of Thrones, even as somebody that didn't watch it,
all people remember is the ending.
Ending sucks. Horrible. Worst ending ever. Yeah, I remember when it was out, people were telling me
not the worst ending ever
about it.
Dexter is worse.
Is it?
Have you haven't seen Dexter?
Not all of it, no.
Oh, it's bad, bro.
It's really bad.
Oh, really bad. And then, the ending to the original Dexter, I think they did like a spinoff or something.
Yeah.
I haven't seen that. I'm not going to bother. I heard it was just, they said, damn, Dexter really gave us the greatest or the worst series ender of all time. And then they came back and gave us another one of the worst season enders of all time. No. But anyways, I'm sorry. Keep going.
No, but yeah, I was just saying, like, that happens a lot, and it worries me. I want these other you're gonna have 5 Walking Dead shows going on after the Walking Dead main series ends. Right?
That we know of. Others may be in development right now, you know?
We have 5 that we know of.
How many are actually being shot right now, though? Or are going right now?
Just finished. It just finished filming. Fear the Walking Dead season 8's being filmed right now. Tales of the Walking Dead season 2 just casted their people. Rick and Michonne spinoff starts filming in April.
How many shows do you actually have that have played episodes like this year that aren't like in the filming process but have been like already playing?
There's 4. So World Beyond's done. Fear is done. It's season 7 just recently. Walking Dead season 11, and then Tales had its first season. So 4.
That's crazy.
It's a lot, bro. It's a lot of content.
Bro. That's what I'm saying. You'll never run out of content, man.
Right. Well, Ricardo, I do want to wrap things up, man, so we don't get too long on here. But I love talking with you, man. So tell everybody where they can follow you and where they can find you and stuff.
So you guys can follow me on TikTok, you know, in my factual opinion. Me and 2 other creators we're starting a podcast actually tonight, probably after I leave this in a couple hours. We're going to film our first episode. So you can follow us on TikTok as well on the Cineholics podcast. Excited for that. I have an Instagram, everything the same thing. In my factual opinion, feel free to follow me. Come say what's up. That's it.
Yeah, so Ricardo, like I said, I've been waiting to get you on here forever, and I'm glad you cleared things up. That you don't think
people have been asking me too, bro.
The worst show ever. I'm glad you don't feel it's the worst show ever. So that's good to hear. We found some good middle ground, and let me know what you think of that episode. I definitely want to hear from you.
I'm gonna check it out. Maybe tomorrow, actually.
Yeah, check it out. And let me know what you think. So I appreciate all your time. But for those of you that watch, thank you so much for checking it out today. And checking out my podcast. Stay tuned for my next few episodes. You guys know to follow me at The Walking Dead NA on all platforms. And click the link in my bio, download Q, and check it out. Thank you guys, and thank you, Ricardo.